to acknowledge that there are certain things that are kind of always evolving in my mind, or at least spend a good long time evolving till I come to a really solid perspective about those things. I've talked a couple of times now about Section 230 and why I think it's not a really great idea, and particularly the way that it's being utilized at this point in time. But I wanted to go ahead and discuss today the sort of underlying concern I have with regard to Section 230, and that is publisher and platform. That's the subject of today's daily summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, and my name is Kurt, in case you were wondering. Yes, I am Kurt of Kurt's Religion and Politics. Today is Wednesday, the 26th of May of 2021, and again, we're going to talk about publisher and platform. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, or wherever you happen to be coming from. Thank you for joining me today. And hopefully I'll say some things that will be useful to you, at least in sort of thinking about this thing yourself. I'm going to read my notes, but I want you to understand that there have been a couple of changes in my thought as I've gone along already. So there are already things that I've decided maybe the way I was looking at things was not exactly how I should have been doing so. But I asked this question: why is it so difficult for people to understand? And I'm talking about the difference between publisher and platform here. When you have a platform where it's reasonable to have terms of service, it's not reasonable to ban people outright as a rule. Now, one of my rethoughts on this, the things that I came up with was, actually it is under certain circumstances. If somebody constantly breaches the terms of service, particularly in an egregious way and on an ongoing basis, it may be reasonable to ban them outright. Otherwise, it's not all that reasonable to ban them outright. It's also unreasonable to make totally arbitrary limitations. Here's the thing. Can you make those limitations? Yes, you can. That said, is it reasonable, and will people put up with it for very long if you continue to do that? Probably not so much. It's even worse, though, to apply new strictures, making it so things people already said that were not against the old ones are now suddenly taboo with basically no reason, not even real public pressure. That is to say, there's not even that you can count on as a reason. There are many instances where that's not the case. So retroactive enforcement of new terms or new moderation or arbitration make very little sense, right? That's not something you want to do. And now I have a question that I asked myself as well as you, and it is, where is the line in the sand between platform and publisher? Where's that line in the sand? When you can cut me down because we don't agree, I make the argument you're no longer a platform. I'm not saying that's the only line in the sand, but I'm saying that that's certainly one I can give out. If you knock me down, if you take me off your platform because you don't agree with me, not because I breached or violated your terms of service, that's a problem. At that point, you become a publisher, since you're the arbiter of what can and cannot be said on your platform. It's that simple. What do publishers do? They take in what other people say. They decide whether that stuff that they take in is something that they want to put out there in the public for other people to see. If they decide that they don't want that, they junk whatever it is that they don't want to be out there. If they decide it's something they do want, then they put it out there, maybe with edits that they require before they're willing to allow it to be on their quote platform, on their editorial, to pass their editorial standards. I'll put it in those terms. The point here is really simple. By the way, I'm done with my notes, so we're now into me thinking aloud, okay? And you're going to have to live with that. That's what I pretty much do, by the way, with everything that I do. Here's where I'm coming to, though. I'm not saying you can't do things like tell people you can't kill people on videos that you post on our site. I am saying that you can't say no death will ever appear on our site typically and expect people to consider you reasonable. Look, a lot of this is opinion. And that's one of the reasons that I disagree with Section 230, is because there are a lot of people who most folks would consider are acting as publishers. They are allowing or disallowing content on some extremely arbitrary bases that I do not consider to be reasonable, proper, appropriate, or correct. It's that simple. If you say, I've said this before, if I have a truck and you say I want to put a dump truck, and you say I want to put sand in your dump truck, I can go, nope, we're not doing sand in my dump truck, or yeah, we can do that. If I claim to be a carrier of anything and everything, guess what? I have to take the sand. Unless they're not willing to pay what I'm asking for it, right? To haul it. But the point is, if I'm willing to say that, then that's where I am. Now, there are certain things that I'll say no to, and it'll be considered totally appropriate. I got this load of ricin I want to transport. Not in my truck, you ain't. There isn't any way. I don't even care how you think you're transporting it. I'm not qualified to do that, and it's unreasonable to expect it of me. Okay, fine, got that. I'm not saying that there aren't lines that can be crossed that will make it so that even a platform can say no to content. But I'll tell you this. There are a lot of people out there at the present moment who have been booted off of various supposed platforms on the basis that they did and said things that were in contravention of the rules, regulations, expectations of the platform. Yet, when the platform is asked to give real, meaningful reasons why they did what they did, they can't. They can't. They give some bogus, 2 or 3 word answer that doesn't really answer the question. Can you make the argument that a platform can boot somebody off in those circumstances? I suppose you can, but my question is whether or not that person should get special protections for the government from the government for being a platform as opposed to being a publisher. I'm not asking, can a platform boot people off of their platform if they don't like them? Yeah, they can do that. But the question I have is, should they receive special dispensation in terms of law from the government for having done so? For having the right to do so. I'll put it in those terms. Right? And my answer is, if a person steps outside of what a platform would reasonably be expected to allow for, to have on their platform, I hate to say this, but the answer is probably they shouldn't be considered a platform anymore. They should be considered a publisher. They should be considered somebody who's deciding what content does and doesn't make it on their platform. I get that you can make a platform like LinkedIn, for example, where you say, I really only want business-related stuff. But you know as well as I do that if you go onto LinkedIn, you're going to find stuff that's not business-related. I mean, technically in the long range, in the long term, it sort of could be. But in reality, you will find things on LinkedIn that are not business-related. And they don't just tend to go out there and trash people when they do things that aren't business-related on their platform. Am I saying LinkedIn never kicks anybody off their platform? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that if you compare what entities like Facebook and Twitter have done, kicking the sitting president, still as a sitting president, kicking him off their platform. Really? And particularly when you look at how mild what he said was by comparison to people who weren't even mildly saying what they were saying. They were coming right out and saying death to America or whatever it happens to be. And let's make something clear here. America, China, Spain, death to Spain, I don't care which it is. None of those is reasonable. For me to say I would like to see the government of China change to where it's a democratically elected representative government of a republic who gets to choose their own life as opposed to having socialism or communism crammed down on them, that's one thing. For me to say death to China, that's another. Okay? And it's not okay. All right, I am running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Obviously, I need to do that. I hope you're having a good day today. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Wednesday, the 26th of May of 2021. means tomorrow will be Thursday, the 27th of May of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's come aboard on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, and by all means, join me every day if you possibly can. Today's subject has been publisher and platform. Tomorrow's subject is going to be breaking them up, and I'm going to talk about the idea of breaking up monopolies where they exist. And I'm not, we'll get into whether I agree with it or whether I don't, whether I think it's possible, whether I think it's don't, or whether I don't where certain things are concerned, like whether or not Facebook can be broken up. I'll give you a hint. I think it's possible. Okay, thank you again for coming aboard. I really appreciate everybody who pays me any attention. I know at this point the numbers are quite small, and I'm hoping in the course of time that'll ramp itself up some, but that's just how it is. I'll continue to do this as long as God gives me the ability to do it. I enjoy what I do when I do my videos, and if I don't do them for any other reason, then I'll do them for that reason alone. Again, hope your day is a good one. Hope things are going well for you. We're at that middle of the week. That means tomorrow will be Thursday, and we'll be on the downhill slope for most people's work week. I am slowly getting myself to the point where somebody will have me working for them in the daytime again, which, as I say, may cause some disruption on my videos. I'm going to try to keep that to a bare minimum. That having been said, they may happen. Even so, I'm glad to have had you along today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow on the Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Wednesday, the 26th of May of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.